Welcome to the Lifestyle Architects Show,
featuring interviews with inspiring and successful lifestyle entrepreneurs and helping you to design your life. Build your online business and live your dream now.
There is no better time than the present to make a change that will bring you true happiness and make your dreams a reality.
Changing his life and helping you change yours.
It's your host, Navid Moises.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Lifestyle Architects. This is Navid Moises, and today for episode 24, we are going to talk all about how you can build a thriving platform on social media. And for this topic, I invited social media engagement superstar Elizabeth Bradley to the show. And some stuff she shares here today really blows me away. So I'm not going to hold you here much longer. But first, you should head over to navid.me/24 because Elizabeth actually was kind enough to put together a social media workbook. So you can download this for free over at navid.me/24. Just click the link and enter your email in the pop-up that comes up there. So navid.me/24, download your social media workbook. So let's dive right into the interview. Without further ado, here is Elizabeth Bradley. Welcome to another episode of the Lifestyle Architects. Today I am joined by Elizabeth Bradley, and she's an award-winning British-American freelance writer, photographer, social media strategist living in Thailand. And we are going to cover something very interesting, how you can drive a lot of engagement on social media, and that's what you are an expert on, kind of building a thriving online platform on social media. So we are going to get into a lot of good stuff. But first of all, I would like to welcome you, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, this is going to be super fun. So first of all, can you tell us a bit about yourself and why we should listen to you?
Well, yeah, about 3 or 4 years ago, I decided to become a full-time writer. But as many writers find out, including like Joe Vitale, who I'm sure you've read plenty of, you need to learn how to market yourself to be obviously a freelance writer, to do anything online. So without having any prior knowledge about marketing or branding, I just basically spent the next couple years studying intensely, how to market myself. And then eventually my husband decided to work online as well. And so I began to test and tweak different strategies I was learning about with regards to his website, which is holisticdad.net. And we found, we had a friend of ours who has the #1 fan page in the world for raw foods health, which is called Raw for Beauty. She has over 1 million fans or likes on there, and extremely high engagement. She has like 400,000 talking about. Wow. And so she began to mentor me because I was like, wow, whatever you're doing, it's working really well. And I began testing it and using it in my own strategies, and for my husband, because he really wanted to spread this message of health and wellness and what to eat and those types of things. And we saw that it's such a huge niche. People were so passionate about it that his platform began to grow really quickly, and he became a world-renowned expert in healthy eating and wellness coaching. So it's like, and then I started mentoring, being mentored by one of the top online marketers, a guy named Ed Forteau, who had seen what I was doing and wanted me to teach him. And in exchange, he started teaching me more about copywriting, branding, and different kinds of internet marketing tactics. So that's essentially how I got to what I'm doing now.
Very interesting. We are going to get into more of the kind of how you did all this with maybe Holistic Dad and the other side as well. But first of all, let's start with the basics. What is social media essentially? Like, a lot of people get it wrong. Maybe people are maybe just on social media to be social, but in my opinion, we should treat maybe social media just like new connections we would in real life, on Twitter. Just go on there to interact with people. But I would like to hear your opinion, what you believe social media is.
Right, exactly. Well, see, this is the thing. Most people have no idea what social media is or how to use it. And this includes businesses. And in fact, it's even more applicable what I just said to businesses. So many businesses will either spam you with what they're selling, with no care in the world about their target, client or customer, or they just won't post very often and they don't take it very seriously, and thus they have a really low engagement. People aren't interacting with them much, and the same thing goes with most people. First you start talking about your personal life. This seems to be like the stages. You start talking about what you ate for breakfast, right? What you're going to the gym today, or you use Foursquare to tell people where you're at and things like that. And then people start to the small percentage of people start to say, hey, I can actually meet new people this way. So not only can I talk to my friends and family and stay in touch with them, or stay in touch with classmates, because that's what we all know Facebook started out as. But now I can actually maybe even sell something. Maybe I'm an artist and I'm a painter, and then I see, wow, maybe I can actually sell my paintings through Facebook and stuff like that. So maybe someone starts a fan page. And then it starts to branch out where people see the potential of actually, getting new customers and new clients and whatnot. But that's normally when people begin to have frustration. They've got the fan page, they've got the professional business Twitter page or the Instagram account, but then maybe they get 100 people, a couple thousand, but then it flatlines. They don't know how much to post. They don't know what to post. Not many people are seeing what they post. And then they start to get burnt out and either stop completely or just randomly and occasionally begin to post things. And that's essentially what you want to avoid. And that's what I do when I'm, consulting people. You want to have this consistency. And it all comes down to understanding what your ideal client, what your customer wants, and learning copywriting, which are the two essentials for social media, essentially.
Definitely, but you talk about something, and we talked about this before a little bit, but you call it social media shame, right? A lot of people,
Right.
they go on social media, they don't really know what to do. We can get in more about what they should do instead, but talk a little bit about this concept of social media shame.
Well, one of the things that I noticed, even big companies, and you and I have talked about this before, is that some have branding that doesn't necessarily match their website, so the branding is off. The copywriting is off. Some don't even have the links. This is more and more people are learning to have your link in your Facebook description page on your fan page. But not even people, companies have that. They won't even say, come visit us at, or get 10% off of our products by clicking here, and having like a tiny URL or a tracking link so you can track how many people are coming to that URL. And the copywriting's off, the branding's off, or what they post is, sometimes they'll even like start insulting customers. Well, if you have a problem with this, maybe you should go somewhere else, or just saying something that's completely inappropriate, or using a ton of hashtags or spamming. And then, there's just so much shame. Where to begin?
Okay, yeah. We're getting into more of this in a bit here, but first, if someone is new to this, where should they start? Where should they be active? Should they set up profiles everywhere? We need to build, maybe for me, I prefer Twitter, but I'm on Facebook. I have an account on the other ones as well. Maybe I'm not as active there, but I still have the platforms.
Right. Well, we all know Pat Flynn's strategy of, be everywhere. That's very popular now. People think they need to be everywhere, and I think that can work, but it's not going to work if you're going to get burnt out. And the key to social media, to actually creating a thriving platform, the number one thing you need is consistency. So if you're not going to be consistent with posting, a lot on Facebook or Twitter or whatnot, enough to get engagement and to build a tribe, because a tribe needs a leader, and a leader's consistent. So if you're not going to do that, I would absolutely not go on all those platforms. I would pick the ones you really like. So if it's not Facebook for you, I even have some clients who decided, despite the fact that I've had so much success, and a lot of my clients have with Facebook, they've decided to completely take down their fan page and focus on Instagram or Pinterest or somewhere else, or guest posting, or Twitter. So it's up to you, really. If you're going to be consistent on all those platforms and you can do it, and your customers are there, or your ideal client, then by all means do it. But consistency is number one.
I think it's a little fine balance, right? Like what you enjoy and where your ideal clients or target audience is. Like if you maybe hate Facebook. Like, hate, I mean, obviously we all probably have a Facebook profile. I've even seen some influencers, they don't have a fan page. They just have their profile so people can follow them essentially. But what do you think about that strategy? You know, if you don't you don't get a lot of engagement on your fan page, should you just get rid of it and just focus on your profile because you get maybe more reach there, more likes, more comments, and so on?
Well, that's a good question. I think it really just depends on the person. For personal branding, maybe, because perhaps you don't want somebody to come around like a troll or a spammer who wants to actually take your name and capitalize on it on a fan page. And you never know, that could happen. You could have somebody set up a fake account and do that. That kind of stuff happens. But it really is up to you and what you want. Because I think no matter what's going on with EdgeRank and Facebook, which, to fill in your audience in case some people have noticed this but don't know what it is, you've probably noticed that your fan page is not getting many views, even if you're posting consistently. And maybe what you were doing before was getting you some traction. But for example, one of my clients was getting like 100,000 views per post because this was a huge fan page, okay? All organic. This was not by ads, but she worked very, very hard on it because she just had a huge tribe of people. And it went down to like 5,000. Okay, that's a huge drop. Like that killed her traffic. That was her main traffic source. So, okay, maybe that happens to you. Maybe you can, she's fighting to get it back up and she's finding ways that are working for her audience, posting more. But let's not rule out Facebook groups, for example. You could still use Facebook. I'm actually really loving Facebook groups right now.
Yeah, same here. I mean, that's what I'm setting up for my brand, this show, The Lifestyle Architects. Instead of having like a super engaged fan page, because that takes time. We're going to get into that a little bit later. But like a Facebook group is great because a lot of, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them, a high percentage will see your posts. And if they are in your group, they probably like what you do. Maybe they are on your email list and so on. So yeah, that's for sure. That's what I've been enjoying and been doing for my business and brand.
Absolutely. And people need to basically, this is my message is, people need to get over this fear of cold emailing or cold messaging people, including business owners, because fan pages too, but groups are so awesome for connecting with people. So even people you don't know, just messaging them or just putting like on a group, hi, I'm new here, just wanted to say hello and get to know you better. You'll get a couple people responding in the group and you can write them back and say, I'd love to know more about your venture, what you're here for. And then boom, you're starting a relationship.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
That's very powerful for sure. I mean, what do you think? Like if we want to get more, let's say we're setting up a fan page and that's what you're really good at. Like you get a lot of engagement for Holistic Dad and so on.
Right.
So how can we do that from scratch? Let's say we're setting up a brand, let's say a personal branded website. Okay. Like for example, if you take me as an example, what can I do for my brand to get more engagement right now?
Well, I think when it comes to a personal brand, this is a little bit different than just a company or other kinds of companies that are selling products or other kinds of services. I think for a personal brand, like, do you want to do speaking engagements and stuff like that, I assume?
Yeah, definitely. Like stuff like that, sell products, like courses, stuff like that, yeah.
Courses. Well, numbers do help in that sense. Having like an engaged following, people who are looking for keynote speakers will see that. Publishing houses will see that, and it doesn't mean you have to have 200,000 fans. But if you had, a couple thousand, and people saw that, wow, when he's posting on there, people are responding. A publishing house, for example, that could be the yes or no for a publishing house deciding to work with you, because they see, hey, this guy's got a tribe. I'm not taking as much of a risk with publishing him as I would with someone who's got no blog, no fan page, or a fan page of 10, right? The good news is, and we've talked about this before, is that even if you're starting out, if someone's starting out as a personal brand and they have no followers, you can take ads for a couple $100 or a couple €100. And if your targeting is done correctly and your copywriting is good, I found with taking ads, if you use copywriting that's asking a question, like one author I work with, I said, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, which is a book, then you'll love this new book and by the author. And we got really high, I think 1,000 likes from $100 or something like that for him. And his publishing house which is Macmillan, a very well-known one, was very happy with it, and they decided to promote him more and to help him do more bookstore tours. So, that essentially helped him with that. And they're talking about film rights now. So who knows what'll happen, because the book did well. He got more book tours. So you see.
Now, how can we do that? Like, let's say, I mean, probably a lot of people they're starting out, they don't know how should they set up a successful ad so they don't waste money. We have maybe, let's say we have $200 to spend. What should we do and to get those initial fans up? I really targeted, so then we can drive natural engagement and get like that's what you've done for the sites you worked with.
Right. Okay, so first off, we would just try to actually take a step back and go into and look at the pain points and the problems that whoever you're targeting, even before you start to take the ad, would have. What are their buttons? What are the actual, this is going into the psychological aspects of people, because those types of ads will get more likes. So I would really spend some time just learning a little bit basic copywriting. You can Google it. There's some good Dan Kennedy courses on copywriting, and try to really get into. So let's say you're a health coach or a fitness trainer, or you want to be one. You've just finished training, or you're ready to go. You don't have a fan page. I would start to really think of what clients or your friends who are looking to lose weight. What is the real reason causing them to feel that way? So is it because, they just don't feel comfortable with themselves? Is it because, their spouse has said something, maybe their sex life isn't great? I don't know, but find out what it is. Ask people, survey 25 people, and then start taking 2 ads for maybe like $100 total between both ads as your budget, and test the copywriting against each other. So whichever ad is doing better, run with that one. Some people will even say take 3 ads with, different copywriting, different photo in each, same target, but see which one does the best and then run with that one.
How would you
can
target?
Still spend 200.
How would you target them?
I would not do what some people do, which is just to try to get likes internationally. So they'll target like India or Pakistan or places like that where likes are easier to get. I wouldn't do that. I would still think about some demographics. So you pick age, sex. I think you can even do income, and what their likes are. I've had a lot of success with targeting, another fan page's followers. So for example, like you, we know 4-hour work week. We know that people there are interested in taking this and working on it, or different authors like that. So I would target fan page followers. That's going to be your number one, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. And then the copy, right? And then you're getting your initial fans. Maybe, let's say your target audience, they're mostly in the United States. Then it's better to target only one country, right, than many.
Yeah, I would target, like, for example, if you're taking an English ad, I would maybe do Canada, Australia, unless you're doing local things. If you're doing local events, or if you want to, I would target locally, like Los Angeles, Stockholm. But if not, I would target English-speaking countries, like Billy's audience on Holistic Dad. His main audience, they're in London, Los Angeles, New York, Vancouver, and that's the top. And then he has fans in Australia and whatnot.
Okay, that's great. So you're running this ad, you're getting the initial, maybe how many fans would you get if you have really good copy and you're getting a low good click through rate on this? How many fans would you get if you spend $200?
You could get over 1,000.
Over
I can't
1,000.
say exactly how much, but I think
something like that. And then what should you do after that? So we have the 1,000, maybe 1,000, 1,500 fans on our fan page, and they like what we do, but now we need to get it up, getting natural engagement there. And that's what I wanted to cover next. It's the natural engagement versus the ads. So I think that's interesting in what you are doing. A lot of people like Amy Porterfield, Rick Mulready, they are focusing a lot on the ads right now. But you are doing something different.
Right. Well, for Facebook or for any platform, on social media, like we said, consistency is key. So if you know the psychology of who it is that you want to work with, and again, that can be as simple as surveying friends that are already in your target market, or putting out a survey for people to fill out. Once you get to know what they need, which isn't as hard as people think it is, but once you can understand what they want, then you speak to them in their language, in what they're looking for. It's like when you're doing your copywriting for your sales page or something, and you're doing features versus benefits, and everybody will tell you, well, benefits are what people are going for, right? It's the same thing for your fan page. You need to speak to them in that message that really connects with their heart, because that's what really good copywriters will tell you. That's what sells. That's what connects. And that's what builds a tribe. You're speaking exactly, like, for example, Jeff Goins, right? I'm in his group, Tribe Writers, and I really like Jeff Goins because he really understands writers. He understands that a lot of writers hate to say that they're a writer to people. They're embarrassed about it. They feel that it's like degrading, or something like that. Well, he understood it very well because he went through it. So he can talk to them. He can speak their language, and that's why he's grown such a successful blog and fan page. And if you can translate understanding these people to posting, maybe it's quotes regularly, like what Tiny Buddha does. It could be, I like to use photos, and that's what we did with Holistic Dad, because Billy loves photos too. Short quips of easy to use, health remedies or infographics that people really like.
Okay.
Or it could be quotes like about childhood obesity or stuff like that people go, wow, oh my God, I didn't know that, share.
But
so it's about,
but basically I wanted to ask, like, what kind of where do you take the photos from? Do you make them yourself to make them really engaging, or do you like take them from some other sites? So how do you find great photos to share?
Well, I find that, like, for example, in the health niche, people tend to share each other's photos, and they give credit in the description box.
Okay, so that's that you can do as well on Facebook, and just give a little credit to the source.
Source it. So you want to make sure to always source it. Another great, absolutely awesome resource, if you want to make your own, if you ideally have a VA, or if you're doing it yourself, it only takes like 10 to 15 minutes to do, is go to canva.com. It's CANVA. Have you tried that one?
Yeah, I signed up for it, I think. Mostly my designer makes most of my images, but this is a great resource if you want to make it yourself. I checked it out, actually. So it's awesome.
Yeah. And I just want to point this out before we go forward. I see some big name brands that like to take their own quote. I'm not going to name names here. They like to take their own quote and then put it on like a infographic, essentially make it like an image to share. And I don't find those do well compared to quotes that, again, really go for the heart, or famous quotes, or things that your target market really understands. Even though they're going to be following you if they're in your tribe, they still don't get as many shares or as engagement as something that's a little bit more well-known or personal. So I would test it. Always test your photos. Test what times of day work best for your audience. Mornings and during the day when people are at work, those times do really well for shares.
Yeah, something I wanted to stress here as well is that ads is a fantastic way if you have the budget. I think you can grow a larger following quickly, right? But if you maybe if you're on a budget, you can still get the $200 ads, and then get like 1,500 fans, and then work on this long-term process, which is natural engagement. It's not overnight, right?
No.
How long did it take to build Holistic Dad to this point? Like, if you talk a little bit about this.
It took a year, I would say, not to get to 100,000, but a year to get maybe to 50 to 70,000. I think between 50 to 70 organically. This is without ads, and we did this on purpose because it just was working, and we liked what we were doing. His tribe loved it, and he was passionate about the images he was sharing, and he had a real relationship with them. So we didn't go more into ads.
So it's just natural, basically, right?
Natural. Except in the beginning, he did take ads. He did take like $100 or $200 to get his first 1,000 or 2,000, and that helped us get momentum.
Okay, that's great. And now, like, if you talk about the business side, you're spending on ads, but eventually you want a return, right? It's not only about buying ads. We need to buy that in order to get somewhere. And how's the return now for the business in terms of maybe website traffic? How many people are coming there? How are you sharing like your blog post on the fan page and so on?
Well, depending on depending on edge rank and how many people see his posts, he gets like between 10,000 and 20,000 people frequently seeing each of his posts. So if he posts a photo on his fan page, he'll get up to 20,000 people, if it's a really viral post, seeing that post. He's sometimes gotten his stats up to 3 million views on his fan page a week, which is huge.
Yeah.
It's not that great right now, I'm going to be honest with you, because of EdgeRank, but it's still damn good. So it's still better than no traffic and dealing with Google's algorithm changes. I mean, I still think it's more reliable. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I think he can get like 700 views per day if he posts, like, let's say he writes a blog post and posts it on there, then he'll get like 700 views per day to his website from that. That's another thing. You're going to have a lot of, share things from your own website, obviously, on your fan page or in your group or whatever. You can't just share images. You have to have a link in the description box to your website.
Should we have that in every post you share? Should we have a link, or is it like...
Yeah.
Okay, so, but what about if you have a link? That decreases the kind of views of the post, right? I've noticed that.
I haven't had that. Oh, really?
You haven't? Sometimes I see that when I have a link, it goes down. I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't have a lot of engagement on my fan page. I've been testing a little bit actually with different posts. Even on my profile, I see different things people want to hear about and different things maybe people don't want to hear, and then they don't see it for some reason. I don't know how it works, but that's what I found from like some testing I've done. So
yeah, just keep testing it, because this stuff changes all the time. That's why I have my friend, my mentor Ed. He always says to his clients, don't buy specifically a fan page or like a Facebook course, because it's going to change in a week from now. If you're going to buy an engagement course, right? Unless they're constantly updating the course, and honestly, you need to be constantly updating this.
That's why you have to create your engagement course, right? So
I know, I do. I really need to do it.
Definitely, but this is interesting. So what about the posting schedule? Like, I'm starting out. I want to get more engagement up on my page. What's the strategy I should use to post there?
Well, again, understanding what your audience wants. So let's assume you know that already.
Yeah.
Then I would test it. I would start testing. I think you should post multiple times per day on whatever social media outlet, again, you find you can do this on. Okay, if you can't do it on Facebook, try it on Twitter, try it on, again, we're all testing and tweaking, that's entrepreneurship. But on fan pages, specifically I would start posting in the morning. If you've got a US market, morning US, afternoon when people are starting to get bored at work. And then before they go home from work, seriously, you can really post, Naveed, up to 10 or more times a day if you wanted to. I'm just saying, if you wanted to, if someone wanted to just go all out, they've got a launch coming up, or they're just trying to build their tribe and really have a lot of content to share, you can do it as much as you want. Because remember, again, that not all of your audience sees that post. If you have a product launch, they're not going to necessarily see it.
And you can build your tribe quicker, right? If you are posting more frequently. But what I found on Twitter, for example, there I post several times a day, because I have also a tool I use, Twitter feed, so I can actually stream out my maybe influencers content. I don't really have to share it. It shares automatically whenever they post a blog post. So I found that very useful for saving time and also post relevant content to my Twitter feed. But Twitter is, I mean, we all know, like from Gary Vaynerchuk wrote about it in Jab, 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 Right Hook, that all platforms, they are different. So we have to focus on context, right? So let's talk about this a little bit.
Well, I mean, just like Gary talks about, each platform has something that the users are different, what they want is different, the culture is different, the atmosphere is different, and even sometimes the demographics are different. For example, Pinterest, the majority of users are females, are women. So you've got to take that into, for example, I see people sharing posts on, here's some social media shame. We should make a hashtag on that, social media shame. Maybe we can get on Jimmy Fallon or something. But seriously, some people will post images on Pinterest that are so bad, like low lighting. And look, you don't have to be an expert photographer. It's just taking photos outside, doing a tiny bit of styling. If you're taking your own photo, if you're buying stock images, it's a whole other thing. But if you're taking your own photos, like Instagram, it cannot be like, it's not like Instagram with regards to what you share. It has to be top quality images. Like let's say you've got a food blog or something. If you're taking a picture of a piece of pie, if it doesn't make me want to actually eat that pie, it's not going to get shares. It's got to be a great picture of that pie, and people don't do that necessarily. Or big businesses are posting again quotes that they've shared to their audience, or like in a blog post that they've had, and that really does not work as much as something that's actionable. 5 tips to get to lose weight now, or 10 tips to get your more traffic to your blog. As much as we all hate list posts, or at least I hate list posts, they do get more shares, and it's the same for they do.
They
Okay.
get a lot of shares, yeah. But I mean, what I do sometimes, I don't use like Pinterest actively. I don't use it too much, but I like pin like my images there sometimes to get seen, But it's not really I'm using it. I'm just pinning it there. I have my board, whatever. So
Right.
But I've seen actually in this space, like the online marketing space, someone who's using it extremely well is actually Amy Porterfield. I think she got a lot of activity on her board for some reason, and I mean she's sharing a lot of valuable stuff there, and also I guess Danielle Delporte, right?
I love her. Yeah, she's got a great.
She has a great board too, and sharing quotes.
She understands it.
She understands it definitely, and I mean that's two great examples I think for this.
Yeah, and again, it's again going to what you're really feeling pulled to. For example, my husband, it's absolutely Facebook. That's where his audience are. They expect him there every single day. If he's not there, he will get people writing him. That's a tribe. They expect you to be there. And some days he can't be, like if we're traveling and they're mad at him. But for me, I love Instagram. I really adore that platform. I adore the intimacy that I have with my followers there. I love seeing snippets of their lives, and I get to just comment on them. But if you're not feeling great about Pinterest and you try to tweak it and it's not working for you, then maybe hold off on it until you find the time to test it more. But for example, I like Pinterest for its group boards. If you can get into a big group board there, like I'm in one that's got about 6,000 or 8,000 followers. But if I post something that's relevant, like blog related, social media related, writing related, I can get 12 to 20 repins.
Oh,
from
really?
that.
Okay, that's a great strategy. I think that's actually what a lot of people nowadays they use this in. Let's say Facebook, you have the Facebook groups, you have the LinkedIn groups, Google Plus communities. So every platform, they are getting these kind of closed whatever communities within there, and that's what I've seen extremely powerful to sharing blog posts, to sharing valuable content to a target audience, right?
Yeah, we're seeing micro communities form, and that's essentially what this is. Group boards. We're even seeing apps, social. I think you and I were talking about this. We're seeing like small social media apps that are coming about, and it's just like when you think, my God, another social media platform, and that's what I think every time I download one of these. Like, oh my God, another one, And then I play with it, and I go, oh, this is actually interesting.
Yeah.
And then actually I spend more time playing with it than something else. And then I realize, wow, this has potential. This has potential. If someone sat on here and loved it, like let's say they were just absolutely loved it, I guarantee that they could build a platform on there because people would see, oh, wow, this guy's on here a lot. He's sharing stuff that's valuable. I like him. I'll follow him. And that's how it works. That's essentially how it works.
Yeah, but for example, with Instagram, you mentioned, like, how can we use this for business? Like, let's say we have a podcast, blog, whatever.
Yes.
How can we use that to actually get something out of there? Is it just for personal use and maybe build a connection with your audience, or can we get something else out of it?
Well, actually, it's great for personal branding. I love that aspect to it, and that's what you do. And that's so I think even if a company doesn't have like a personal branding side to them, it's great to show what your meetings look like. Take a quick snap of your community, or not your community, but your your staff.
That's interesting. I tell this to one of my clients right now. I tell them, like, even though you're not actively building your personal brand the way I do, you still have a business, and you can still inject some of your personality as the CEO, whatever you are, into the company, and then maybe do snippets of whatever you are doing on a consistent basis there. I mean, that shows the real company, that shows the real you as well.
Yeah, like, for example, are you a fan of Anthony Bourdain? Of course you are. You have to be, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever watch? Yeah, of course. So he went to Vancouver, and I'm a big gamer, okay? And that's what I use my Twitter account for mainly, is to connect with other gamers and whatnot. But Anthony Bourdain goes to EA Games, and he gets a tour of their headquarters, and he gets to see what they eat for lunch, and he gets to see what they do in their leisure time. And I was just fascinated, like, oh my God, EA Games is incredible. I thought they were good before. And I wasn't buying them for what, their staff or whatnot. I didn't see that aspect. I was seeing them for the quality of their games. But now that I see, wow, they treat their staff like gold. Guess what? Do I want to buy from them more? Of course
Definitely.
I do.
Of course. Yeah.
Right? So it's the same for Twitter. What if EA Games, was just constantly showing how awesome their headquarters is and just like so cool, that they're eating sushi every day for lunch and that their staffers get to go play virtual golf during their lunch break. I'm interested in. I think this stuff is so engaging, and honestly,
this is
Naveed,
very important. Actually, you bring this up. I love this because it's essentially now you're buying more of them. Like you're actually buying the person, not the products or the companies. And a lot, I think we are moving in there. Even big companies, they have to engage more on a personal level with their audience, with their customers. And we are not anymore buying, like you told me you bought the game, but now you're buying more of the real you, the person, or whatever they work, the employees there. Maybe they have a great community, great staff. So definitely.
Yeah, well, it's like Zappos. I mean, every day now people talk about Zappos. It's not even for the shoes. They're all talking about how great they are, and it's their customer service. But that's because we're moving to peer-to-peer, okay? That we're moving to peer-to-peer.
People to people, yeah.
Right, people to people. And you know what? I want to support a blogger, for example, that maybe they just started, but my God, they're so cool. They really are doing something I'm interested in. I believe in what they're doing. It doesn't matter to me if they don't have any followers and I'm the only one. If it's really awesome and they show it to me, they show me these snippets of their daily life. They show me what they believe in, what they're passionate about, like a Kickstarter campaign. What are they doing on a Kickstarter campaign to gain engagement? They're showing snippets of how they're making things and what they're going to do with it afterwards. And what is that? That's storytelling.
Yeah.
So what is all this? What gets engagement? Storytelling, which is what? Copywriting, right? Essentially. I mean, not disingenuous copywriting, not like you're creating a fake persona. This is real stuff. This is storytelling. This is stuff that engages. And that's the essence of engagement.
Yeah, I think that's how we build brand in today's economy.
Exactly.
Through storytelling, essentially, like showing your life and really connecting with an audience. And I mean, I think that's important for Instagram, especially because it's not really through driving traffic to your website. Probably it's mostly maybe if we had this podcast episode, I could make an image, or maybe have you on there. They have a quote you said or something, and you post it on Instagram and tell people maybe to whatever tag you and me in there, and that's how you drive engagement. I think Lewis House that does something similar for the School of Greatness, and that's what he does, and that works for him. I think if you take an example. So that's great. And another thing I want to cover here is also like the quantity versus quality, right? We know that. That's important. I think it's important.
Hard. Yeah. Well, which platform are we talking about? Instagram?
I mean, for example, not Instagram is I think more importantly like Facebook and Twitter to begin with, and I mean obviously Instagram takes it can go quicker. I don't know, like how long does it take to build up a highly engaged audience on Instagram? We can talk about this too if you have some knowledge on this too. Yeah.
Well, let's see. Instagram, I have 1,000 followers, which isn't like exactly 10 or 20,000, but still. I don't know how long did it take me to get that. I'd say like under a year, but this is natural engagement. This is
you didn't actively follow a lot of people and so on, right?
No, I didn't. I actually tested because one of my clients is a gaming company. Actually, they're an app gaming company, and they decided what really worked for them was to actually use InstaFollow, which is an app that helps you find followers that are in your niche. And follow them. And I don't think he was unfollowing people. So I think he was actually following people that would follow him back, that kind of thing. And he would show, this is just showing you exactly like you were talking about you were speaking with a client about this. It's like limitless what you can do with Instagram, because he was taking screenshots of the video game with Instagram and showing people who are all gamers, because he had used InstaFollow to target, gamers, screenshots of the game. Of course they're sold because they're like, wow, that's incredible. I'm going to go over to the store and get it. So that didn't take him long, because he obviously he had a launch coming up. So he was focused, and he decided to use InstaFollow. For what I did for my personal blog was obviously slower and different, because this isn't my business. This is just my personal account.
Exactly.
But for my clients' accounts, if you've got a launch coming up, something like InstaFollow can help you.
It's an app, or is it a hashtag, or?
It's an app. It's an app.
Okay.
It's a free app.
I know a lot of people, they use these hashtags. We can cover this a bit as well. Should you use hashtags or not? If you have a big following, I see them most of the time. They don't use it, but they don't need. But how can people find you organically if you don't use hashtags?
Well, let me give this back to you. How often do you search for hashtags when you're on Instagram? Are you frequently typing in hashtags, or no? Or are you rarely doing it?
I think I did it one time or something, yeah.
Okay. So there's the answer to your question. Yeah, it can, but normally it can get you engagement. But for example, whenever I use it, hashtags, I won't really get high quality followers. I'll get people who are actively trying to build their accounts and don't really care about my account, don't care about my message, my website, and are following me to get me to follow them back, which is not what I want to do. And so I found for myself, especially for a personal brand, that just use them sparingly. Don't use them too often, and make sure to use ones that are applicable, and don't hashtag spam.
But how can people find you, like on Instagram, for example?
Right. Well, I use my blog to connect. I have my Instagram on my personal blog, and that's how I got a lot of my followers.
Okay. And maybe tell people on your other platforms to follow you, right? If you have maybe 1,000, 2,000 friends on Facebook, you can tell them to follow you on Instagram. Maybe do it on Twitter, the same thing, right?
I think actually what I think besides putting it on my blog is following people and commenting on their images. That's who was it that somebody, one marketer had said that this is what worked for him. So I can verify this works.
So you build a real connection, essentially the same with like blog commenting, to build a real relationship, maybe influencers and other bloggers in your field. Okay, great. That works on Instagram too. I'm going to test this out.
Really well.
And it's quite quick as well. Like Instagram is like fast paced, so you can just go on there. Then you're on your phone, you're on a break or something, and just go on there, right? So it doesn't have to take a lot of time. Like some other things like we're going to cover too, which is maybe scheduling on Facebook. Like that's super important, I think, too. I mean, you told me like if your husband, a holistic dad, is not posting regularly or he's away for a weekend, then they contact him. But do you actually schedule the posts in advance on there?
Yeah, now we do. We do schedule the posts most of the time, which, could take you between 15 minutes if you've really got down what you're doing to an hour, depending on if you have to make your own images or if you have to find quotes. If you have a virtual assistant or somebody like that can help you find quotes or find relevant stuff for your audience, then that's great. Maybe you can crowdsource and ask your audience, hey, what are some of your favorite quotes or favorite health tips you can see? So there's so many ways to get that valuable information. And then spend the rest of that time just scheduling them, which is very easy to do. There's a little schedule button right below where you post, and you can just schedule whatever you have for that day or for the week, whatever.
That's great. And what do you think about people who are actually using these sharing, like Buffer, for example? I think it doesn't drive that much engagement on Facebook, right? I mean, that's what a lot of people are doing wrong, I think. Why don't they just schedule on Facebook?
Right. Well, let me just put it this way. I know people who used to schedule their Twitter, like their tweets would go onto their fan page. Yeah. I hated that because people use Twitter more often, typically, like they use it like a live chat or something. Yeah. And so all the time I would see these people's things in my timeline of just like half conversations. And it was annoying.
Doesn't make sense, context, right? It's context. It's not relevant for Facebook.
Right.
So, yeah.
Context is king, and...
But what about you scheduling Buffer? Like you have your blog posts go out with Buffer to your Facebook and to Twitter. Is that a great strategy, or should you schedule within Facebook instead?
I prefer scheduling within Facebook. I think it works best for engagement and everything, because then you can... I just like doing that. That's what I recommend doing. But if you want to do Buffer and it works, then do that, really. Okay,
great. And let's get back to this question about quantity versus quality within Facebook now. Like, how important is it to really have like a big following? Like, it's better to have high engagement, I guess, but maybe in a perfect world we need both. So.
Yeah, again, that's why I think it's important that people use like the 80-20 principle and stuff like that, where again, if a social network is really not your thing and you feel you just cannot consistently bring yourself to do it, then honestly, you're going to have to scrap it. Even if it would be valuable for you to be on there, if you're not going to do it consistently, don't do it. Pick one or two social media networks you can really build that audience on. And unfortunately, this is one of the few things in life where I find, except for Instagram, quality and quantity are important. Facebook and Twitter, like for example, Twitter. Some people will even say you need to tweet every 20 minutes, which is insane.
Wow,
But
that's quite a lot.
yeah, it's crazy. But people do it. Some people do it.
I mean, I tweet a lot, like maybe
Right.
15 to 20 times a day, but it's not always
That's
I'm
a lot.
there. Yeah, but I'm not
Yeah.
always on there. Maybe if someone sends me a tweet, I always respond to them and engage with them, and that's what I find important on Twitter. Like if
Yeah.
someone follows you, maybe you get some new
Yeah.
followers, then you thank them for following you back or
Right.
something like that. You know, it's just that's the context of
Exactly.
Twitter, just short messages, and that's why I love it for connecting with influencers, especially. It's perfect for that.
Absolutely. And I think if you make your tweets meaningful, like again, Danielle Laporte, she's got some really good tweets for her niche, and I love them, and things that you feel compelled to click retweet and that they're relevant. And also, you've got to remember when you're building a tribe that you're not doing this for somebody, I don't remember, I read this recently, you're not doing this to impress your peers. This is not like a professor syndrome where you're trying to look good in front of your peers. So you're sharing stuff that your peers would like. So like if you're a travel writer, a travel blogger, you're sharing constantly things that other travel bloggers would find interesting. You're not really, that's not correct, because you're not trying to impress them. You're trying to get other people to understand your message. Maybe it's how you live your life. Maybe it's how you're a digital nomad, whatever. And it's slightly different. It's a different angle than trying to impress other people who know what you know. Maybe these people don't know what you know, and they're totally new, and they just picked up 4-hour work week, and they're like, oh my God, this is incredible. They're not long-time bloggers who are like, how can I get a sponsored post? Or, how can I get a big guest posting gig? These are people who really don't know the stuff. So keep that in mind whenever you're posting anything. Don't go for impressing your peers. Always choose your audience over your peers.
Yeah.
And maybe your peers are part of your audience, but you know what? You still don't go for impressing them. That's not the game.
No, it seems like this copywriting is so important. I think if people are starting out, you mentioned like they should study this from day one.
Yeah.
I think is this a critical skill to really master yourself, or is that something maybe you should even outsource or?
Oh God. Well, I remember Manish Sethi, which I helped him on his fan page once. He had said in one of his blog posts that he thinks the most fundamental skill now is copywriting. That's the number one thing he thinks people should master. And honestly, it's not as hard as, for me, like I'm a writer, I'm used to writing stories, but not like stories that sell. I had to really, relearn this stuff, and there's people have different angles of doing it. Marie Forleo is launching something called the Copy Cure, thecopycure.com, which is going to be her copywriting course. There are lots of great books on it. Dan Kennedy talks about it. But again, you know what? You can find out your own copywriting if you always get to what are people struggling with. What are people, not what you think they're struggling with. What are they struggling with? Because that's the difference here.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
Right.
But something else that these days actually we see a lot of websites. I think also design matters a lot these days. Actually, like it looks good that your audience can connect with you. Maybe if you're, for example, in my case, you're in like helping people with their personal brand.
Yeah.
If I had a really horrible website, they wouldn't like maybe connect with my message and what I stand for. And another person that are doing this extremely well, I just had him on the show, is Nick Reese.
Yeah, I love
his
Nick.
website is amazing, probably the best one I've seen, and he's also amazing. I mean, the copy is just natural, it flows, but you don't really think about that he put a lot of work into it, but he actually is so on point. The message, the branding, everything is thought out, but it's storytelling. It's not like he's trying to sell. It's just he mentioned that the conversion rate is off the roof. It's so good. Yeah, it's so good, and he has even two-step opt-in, so they have to click the button to actually opt in. So it's quite
well. He's obviously positioning himself.
Yeah.
He's positioning your branding and your copywriting and all that positions yourself as an expert. And I think that's the number one thing, is that you have to claim that you're an expert. And I know people hate that word. I don't like that word, but I don't see another similar word. A leader, let's just say, position yourself as a
Expert,
leader.
authority, leader. You have to be the leader of your tribe. You mentioned that,
Right.
so definitely.
Right, and that doesn't mean you're perfect. Nick's not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. But it
Definitely.
means that you take your job seriously. You're going pro. You're pro. And when people see a nice website, good branding on all your social media, it doesn't matter if you're starting out at zero. If they see that image and that feeling, they get a feeling. That's what branding is. It's a feeling. If they get that feeling from you, then they'll buy more than even what you put on your copywriting. In fact, if your blog's so awesome and your branding's so awesome, chances are people will go, whoa, I was looking at Nick's website. I was like, this guy's amazing. What is he selling? And I realized he was selling consulting. He doesn't sell anything. I was like, where's his ebook? Like searching through, but he's not, because that's not what he does.
He doesn't
He's
need
selling
that right
consulting.
now.
He
He's
doesn't
working
need
on some
that.
stuff, but
Right.
that's what he does extremely well, and a lot of people can learn from that. That he's building his audience. He knows them so well. Like, he's targeting creative entrepreneurs, and he knows what they want, their pain points. So he can really target that, and whenever he puts out something, they will buy from him. So.
And I think it also has to do with your, I hate using these terms, but your unique selling point. What makes your business different than somebody else's? What makes your brand different than someone else's? It could be where you live. It could be your story, what brought you there, and putting that into your about page. Because I remember Nick talking on your podcast about how his about page is quite long. He's got that mapping thing that he has at the bottom, which is really cool. But you really want to understand their story, because again, we're going back to people buy from people now. And if you've got a compelling story and you've shared it in a way where, wow, I understand what you're going through.
Yeah. I mean, that's important. And I see a lot of in this niche with podcasters, bloggers.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people now, they're starting a podcast, but they have maybe 4 lines about their podcast, no info about themselves, no picture. I'm like, okay, great podcast, but where's the information about yourself? And okay, of course you want to tell people what's in it for them and all that, but I connect with people, I connect with a story, and I want that, and that's a big mistake I see people make, both on social media and on their website, blog, whatever they are doing online. So
it's a huge mistake. Like, sometimes it'll take you forever to find somebody's image on their website or their about page or anything about them. It'll just be about their company, and you're like, oh, okay.
About self, that's they lose a potential customer, or their audience, essentially. They lose them. We connect with people. It's so important. If they can take anything from this, is the context and really connecting with people and working on this every single day when you're out there writing content and so on. But anything else here, if you can take some people that we talked about, some people that are doing this well, like what's your favorites, like on, for example, Facebook, people should really check out, besides, of course, Holistic Dad. That's a really great example.
I really like another in the health niche. I mentioned her before, my friend Raw for Beauty. That's her page. She has over 1 million followers. And she seems to do, and she was the one who trained me, actually, in what I do, like, years ago. But even though she does her own rules, she'll post whatever she wants. But she's dedicated and devoted, and I think that's a page everybody should study. Another is sun gazing. Sun, like, as in staring at the sun. Sun gazing is huge. He's got like 1 million engagement.
Okay. Any personal brands, like if you say like persons, they have maybe public figure profile.
I like. Do you know Natalie Lucier?
Yeah, I know her. Yeah.
Yeah, I like her. I like her branding, and her fan page. I like her videos. I like how her branding ties into her fan page. To be really honest,
she knows her audience, I think, extremely well, and she is also great at copywriting and all this stuff.
Right.
So
very good at it. Yeah. Very good at it. Yeah. And design.
Yeah.
Let's see, who else do I think? I think honestly, and I'm not just saying this, I think this is really a social media shame is something so many people struggle with. I'm talking about all different niches, all different brands. So I think honestly that if your viewer or if your listeners and anyone, just who decides to take this seriously, because building a brand is not something that happens overnight. Seth Godin will tell you, to build a tribe, you've got to have an idea. You start with an idea, and people buy into that idea. They believe in that idea. That doesn't necessarily take, it's not overnight that it'll spread. But
definitely.
Right, but if you keep believing in that idea and you keep sharing that idea and connecting with more and more people, guess what? It's going to grow. Your tribe's going to grow.
Yeah.
So I think if people right now listening to this take action, go to their fan page or their Instagram account and decide to go pro at this and make a commitment and post daily and make it look professional, honestly, you're really kicking the ass of most of your competition. I'm being really serious.
Okay, thanks so much.
People are not doing this.
Okay,
I'm really being serious. I talk all the time to people.
Okay, that's great to hear. But I like this advice actually. I'm telling all the time to my people and the people who follow me that building a really strong and profitable personal brand is not something that happens really overnight. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon, and we have to work on. I mean, that's why it's so important to do something we are passionate about, so we don't quit, we don't give up. We actually work on our craft every single day till we get there, because it takes time, very hard work, especially if you're doing natural engagement. And even if you're buying ads, you have to keep the engagement. You don't want to keep buying and buying ads. A lot of people, they buy ads, but they don't do it all the time. Right?
Yeah, but some people get hooked, and that's what they do now, is they just buy ads. And I think, fine, if you want to spend that money, I know people who do it, that's fine, if that's what you want to do. And if you have a product launch or an event,
then
great,
it makes sense, right? I think it makes sense for a product launch. No doubt, it's the best way probably to get people to it. But just a fan page, posting a blog post, you don't make money from the blog. Where's the ROI? Like, how do you see about this? Like, the ROI is important. I think when you're spending money, you want the return.
You want to return. Well, I'll give you an example. Is actually I have this huge course. It's called Blog Hearted. It's huge, okay, and it was like only. It's so big, okay. She sold there are 300 people who joined her course, and it's because her branding and everything she does is excellent.
What's her name?
Her blog, her name is Rachel, and her blog is In Spaces Between, inspacesbetween.com. And the reason I bring her up is because she posts regularly, she understands EdgeRank, she uses her fan page to ask questions, and she's got a tribe, they respond, and guess what? Her ROI is damn good because she knows how to leverage it. And she knows when she's got a launch coming, and she mentions it, and boom, 300 people sign up for this course, making her a really huge profit. And it's so valuable, like 200 or 300 pages. Totally blew my mind. Yeah.
And something else here that's important is just we are having this engagement on our fan page, but we want to build our email list. Is way more valuable than having 300,000 Facebook fans, and having even if you have 30,000 on your email list, is way more valuable, than the Facebook. So how do you get people from Facebook? Let's say you're building that platform as well at the same time, and you want them on your email list.
So I would always have call to action. That's really important. Call to action. Subscribe here. Find out more here. Whatever's applicable to your audience, and test what copywriting works again. And always send them to your blog. You need to always be focused on building your email list. But again, it's using Gary Vaynerchuk's. What is the best form of marketing? It's caring. So again, if people get that feeling from you on your fan page that wow, she's got something or he's got something that's awesome, I'm going to naturally be interested in your blog. So capitalize on that by saying, it's great to have you here. Why don't you subscribe to my blog? Here it is. Here's the URL, and I've got a free gift or your opt-in offer or whatever. So mention this all the time. It can't just be once in a while that you say, oh, I have a blog, or subscribe to my blog. It's got to be every day. They need to know about your blog.
So have this mix between maybe photos, quotes. I mean, you don't just have to. I mean, what do you find? Like photos works for some pages, you said, or should you just have text quotes, for example, or sharing blog posts from other pages, relevant content essentially for your audience, right?
Relevant content. I don't share a ton of other people's blog posts on Facebook because again, the EdgeRank and whatnot. I try to capitalize on the traffic, so I try to always make sure it's my blog posts or. To mention someone within, actually to mention somebody, check out somebody's, blog today or something like that. Unless I really feel compelled, to share their posts. If not, I'll share it on my other social media networks, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, whatnot. So it's just about testing it, really. Test what works. But share as much as you can of your own content.
Okay, great.
And, yeah.
Great. Okay, we're reaching the end here, but I think we should use me as an example. Give me an action plan so other people can follow, because obviously I want more engagement on my fan page. I have great Twitter engagement. I have great on my profile, my Facebook profile, but I should get my fan page up because I can see the power of having it maybe for if I become an author, write a book, I keynote speeches, stuff like that is super important to have an engaged fan page. And I definitely see the power. So let's start with some action steps I should implement over maybe the next month or something that can really get the engagement up.
What are you looking to increase it on your fan page and Instagram? Would you say if there's two accounts or just one?
I would say like the Facebook fan page, because it's I think it's more people would probably find that more valuable and they want to use it in their business and for their personal brand.
You need to post throughout the day. I would ask also questions of your audience, like what are you struggling with this week? Is there something that I can help you with? Again, being of service, letting them know I'm here, letting them know any discoveries or cool things that are coming up on the blog, but not just like sharing a blog post that talks about upcoming things that are happening, like upcoming podcasts, but also in the actual, updates section, updating and telling them I've got some cool things happening, just as many times as you can to get those reminders in that something cool's happening. Then I would also, for personal branding's sake, take some, Instagram shots or whatnot and post them on your fan page. Of you, and maybe like have your logo or something at the bottom just for branding's sake, of you, with your computer out and about working and just showing your lifestyle, because that's what people are wanting to know more about is your lifestyle, how you're making it work. I would also experiment in just in video, uploading direct videos onto your fan page, seeing how those do. This is me out and I'm at a cafe right now having a meeting. This is how it works for me. This is what I do. How are you doing, with your business? Do you have meetings at coffee shops, et cetera, that kind of thing?
That definitely. Can you post from Instagram to both a profile and a fan page, or do you have to choose?
I save my images typically. I then edit them on an app like there are different apps. You can use Over as one app. A Beautiful Mess is another app. There are lots of different apps that keep coming and going.
So you can post from those apps to whatever you want, right?
Yeah, like email yourself it and then upload it manually.
Oh, manually. Okay, so it's not like doesn't save from Instagram, but
yeah, I don't do that except if you're sharing on your personal.
Okay, yeah, that's what I do in my personal. Yeah. Then it's just from Instagram directly to my personal account, so that works. Okay.
No, upload it. Yeah, upload it and then have a call to action. And I would also have maybe, for example, a free course that you could do and make it free, and it's only available to your fan page users or only available to your Instagram followers. And maybe at the end you give like a free consultation or something like that. And something like that, you got to keep testing.
Be a little creative, right? And test
Get
things.
creative. Get creative.
So that's great. So any other tools and resources you use to manage maybe this big fan page you have for Holistic Dad my audience could find valuable?
Well, with Holistic Dad, first of all, I don't like using hashtags on fan pages, and Billy doesn't use them on his. I found that we get less shares, and my clients get less shares when they're using hashtags on Facebook. Again, your audience might be completely different, and if it's in some really targeted niche, maybe you want to try that. Like if it's a really small micro niche, maybe test it. But in general, I've noticed people don't like sharing my clients' images or my husband with the hashtag. They just feel I don't know, they just don't do it. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, again, the engagement you have on Twitter and whatnot, where you say thanks to people or thanks for signing up. Try using that engagement more on your fan page. So ask questions more. When someone says, oh, I love your page, I love your podcast, respond, which I know you do. But just keep trying to engage more and more. Use the groups as much as you can, your own group and other people's groups, to connect with like-minded people and invite them over to your page or blog. Keep always doing that. Bring them back to your homepage. And also caring about them. How's it going? Tell me more about your business. That kind of thing.
But what do you think about this? All these tools we should Buffer, Hootsuite, and all this. Is it worth investing in those, or you don't even use any of them? Right?
I don't even use them. No, I don't. I have a couple clients who like Hootsuite and stuff like that, but I personally don't, because I just schedule them right then and there. And if you're organized and you know what you're going to post, and you've got it figured out, which in the beginning no one will be organized. This takes a while to get your schedule and know where to get the photos, or have somebody make the photos for you or whatever. But once you've got that groove down, then I don't feel personally that it's necessary, but some people love them. So Hootsuite, many people love. I don't use it personally.
But what's your productivity tips to really save the time? Is it like to schedule in advance and like sit down maybe the night before or a week before and like really schedule for this week? I'm gonna post this, this, and this, and then I'm done with it.
Here's a fast tool. If you're using search Google Images for quotes, inspirational quotes, you'll see tons of images. Make sure to source if you're using a photo. Most of the time, 99% of the time, people don't mind you sharing their photo if it's sourced. Okay, that's not all the time. If you're going to and then you can schedule those, tweets or quotes or whatnot, images. You can schedule them right then and there on your Facebook fan page. You can even do a week in advance if you want it. It's completely up to you and how much time you want to devote to that one day of looking for the content. Pinterest is excellent for finding these things. It's excellent for finding new blogs that you can comment on, photos that you may be able to share depending on the rights and whatnot. And then Canva, again, for creating your own images, or just using Instagram, taking your own Instagram photo and putting in a quote on it, like InstaQuote. That's an app that can help you do that.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yep. And then there's another site I think it's called Share as Image. Have you heard of that? Share as Image?
No, I have not.
It's called Share as Image.
Okay.
I might be wrong, but that's another one.
See if I can link it up in the show notes. So that's gonna be great.
You don't have to be doing this all day long. What I don't want people, and my clients don't have time to do this, and you don't have time to do this, most people don't, is to just spend all day on social media, okay? You need to be strict. When you're on your fan page or when you're on Facebook, you're not chatting with friends. You're not doing anything but your fan page, or you're having a VA or someone who works with you do it. Because the number one thing people do is they fall into this social media vortex where they, go on to just update their fan page, and then they spend 4 hours talking to friends, sharing some image of a cat on
I know about this. I fall into this trap. So yeah, we all we all do this, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's important.
But here, let me give your listeners some tips. Okay, these are my tips for productivity. First of all, before you even log on to Facebook, Instagram, whatever, write down what you're going to do. So if you've got your content and you're going to schedule it, you're just going in there to schedule it. If you're going in there because, wow, there's this new Facebook group and, you happen to be a personal trainer and you want to check it out, go in there and spend half an hour. Time yourself.
But interact with some people during that time, right? So you don't that's a big mistake people make, me myself included. I think sometimes we go on Facebook, we browse through all the posts, and we don't interact with anyone. We just maybe like a post, but we don't comment, we don't do anything. So what's the point, right?
Right. There's no point when you do that, and no one makes money, and that's why people think there's no ROI in social media, is because they're not using it correctly. And this is a lot of people. I struggle with this. I have to get on there and get off. And do exactly what I've come on there to do. You've got to be focused. So when you're on groups, you got to interact with them. When you're on Instagram and you're posting a photo or a couple photos a day, then you want to go search for people in your niche. Maybe it's personal branding, maybe it's business, video games, whatever, and then comment and follow. Comment, follow, engage. Comment, follow, engage. It needs to always go like this, no matter what platform you're on. Comment, amazing. Follow, engage. Yeah.
Great advice for sure. So anything else you would like to add before that? You can also tell people maybe where they can find you. We covered a lot in this interview so far. So and we have something cool coming up too. We might do a webinar soon. So stay tuned for that. For everything we've talked about today, you can find over at navid.me/24. All the links, resources Elizabeth mentioned here, everything will be there. So where can people find you if they want to check out more of your cool work you have going on?
Yes. Well, I have two websites, but you can find me on the main one, which is ekbradley.net. And you can get my free training at ekbradley.net/blog. And that has all my links, my credentials, my portfolio, and also my free training there. And and then I have another site for anybody who's in the holistic health niche, because we had so much success with Billy's site. I'm working with a lot of yoga teachers, coaches, people who need that personal branding. So anybody in that niche can also check out thrivinghealer.net, which is my other site.
Definitely. I'll link it up in the show notes. So any final words now? You've given so much valuable information.
Yeah. Well, look, I just honestly, I know a lot of people feel that it's hard to stay focused on social media. You're not getting much traction from it. But the key is consistency. And look, a lot of people are not using these platforms correctly. So if you can just take the time to learn context of each platform, Find which one works for you and be consistent. I promise you that over time, it's going to really pay off in a huge, huge way. Just like your blog would pay off, or just like, networking would pay off. Just care, engage, and post high quality content. And honestly, it might take a little time, but it will pay off big time because you're doing the work no one likes to do. Just like list building, no one wants to do it. If you do the work, it pays off.
Yeah, it's not a sprint, it's more of a marathon. So that's great final words. And thank you so much for coming on my show here, Elizabeth. It was nice having a great conversation finally, and we might do a training soon. So
yes,
thanks so much.
We need to. Thanks so much.
Thanks. I hope you really enjoyed this interview with Elizabeth Bradley, and she shared some really good stuff on how you can build a thriving platform on social media. So before we wrap up here, don't forget to head over to navid.me/24 and download your social media workbook, this action guide, and implement some stuff Elizabeth shared here throughout this entire interview so you can get some results in your business on social media. So navid.me/24, that's the show notes page for this interview, and you find all the links and resources we mentioned there as well. So download your social media workbook. That's it for now. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of The Lifestyle Architects. As always, I have some really great interviews coming up in the next few weeks. So please stay subscribed if you enjoyed this interview. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Lifestyle Architects Show.
For more information and to learn more about Navid's journey and how to start your own,
Please visit navid.me.